Hi, this is Scott Warner. I'm president of the Culinary Historians of Chicago. Actually, I have a home in Wisconsin, so I'm sitting in my home in Wisconsin tonight. And tonight we have, for the second time speaking for us, John Ota. Now, John is the first speaker we have ever had a Zoom program with. And the reason is several years ago, he was scheduled to speak live in Chicago when we used to have live meetings with serving food and everything. And the pandemic hit. And right away, Kathy pioneered our way right into Zoom. So we didn't skip a beat. And we had John speak. Uh, and he spoke on his first book, The Kitchen, which is quite an understatement for a title for a book. Uh, and tonight he's going to speak on The Dining Room, which is quite an understatement for a book because both books are so much more than what their title implies. And I'll tell you first a little bit about John, and he will explain the, what's behind these simple titles of his amazing books. So, John has been involved with architecture and design since 1978, with degrees from Columbia University, the University of Toronto. And John, you're in your home in Toronto right now? Yeah.
That's correct. That's right, Scott.
Yeah, so John is in Toronto right now, and he has degrees from Columbia University, the University of Toronto, and the University of British Columbia. His best-selling book, The Kitchen, was a 2021 Taste Canada Awards finalist and a 2021 Paris Gourmand Cookbook finalist in the book design category. After working in architecture in Toronto, New York, and beautiful Vancouver, John now loves to travel the world visiting historic houses, cooking regional food, and meeting people of all backgrounds. And he does have recipes in his book, The Dining Room, too. And anyway, John, you wrote these two ultra simple sounding books. Can you tell us briefly? Well, you're going to talk about The Dining Room tonight. Tell us briefly what The Kitchen was about and what you hope to accomplish by writing these two. And I say they are amazing books. Just take it
Oh,
away.
Scott, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, hello, Chicago. I love Chicago. Shout out to Colleen Sen. And the opening paragraph of my book, The Dining Room, takes place in the Roby House by Frank Lloyd Wright. So I love Chicago. I love the Roby House, the Glessner House. It's so good to be back with the culinary historians of Chicago. Thank you so much. So on the kitchen book, it's I started it because I used to work in architecture offices and I'd have to go measure these mansions and they all have crown molding in the library and in the vestibule, beautiful moldings, fireplaces. And then I got to the kitchen and I always liked the kitchen the best because it was very utilitarian, very plain, and I felt like I could pull up a chair and have some milk and cookies there. So I went out and wrote about the kitchen of Julia Child and Georgia O'Keeffe and the Kentuck Knob House by Frank Lloyd Wright, my favorite architect. And while I was writing that book, I also became interested in the dining room because people would say to me, the dining room is dead. The dining room is dead. Oh my goodness. I thought that's not very good. That's not very positive. I love the dining room. It's the place of great sumptuous dinners and long conversations and passing down traditions and dishes and recipes. So if the dining room is dead, where is that kind of thing going to happen in our lives? So I had to find out more. I had to find out more. So I started this book, The Dining Room. Thank you very much for having me here, to Scott and to Catherine Lambrecht and everybody, the culinary historians of Chicago, Chicago Foodways. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. And somebody asked, said uh, tonight, is this Monet's dining room? It is Monet's gorgeous yellow dining room, and I'm wearing my yellow glasses, and my yellow sweater in honor of Claude Monet in his dining room. All right. So thank you very much. So my dining room journey actually starts on quite a serious note. A couple of years ago, my wife Fran had a stroke, and it was quite awful. It was awful. It was awful. So, and for about 24 hours, I was in the emergency room of there we go. I have to guess where the arrow is. I was in the emergency room with my wife for 24 hours, and I thought I might lose her in that 24 hours. But somehow the nurses, the first responders, the doctors put Franny back together again. And now she's about 99% back to where her old self. And we know we're lucky. So when Franny had a significant birthday coming up, I knew it was time to have a big dinner party celebration and a new revitalized dining room to make this special dinner very important. I embarked on a new journey. I embarked on a journey to revitalize our dining room and come up with some new dishes for this dinner party. So I visited the site of some of the most famous dining rooms in the world, including the dining rooms of Frank Sinatra, Jackie Kennedy, Claude Monet, and many others, to learn from them and then to incorporate the best features of those dining rooms into our dining room and this birthday dinner. So this is author Edith Wharton's dining room in Lenox, Massachusetts. It's this beautiful pink wonderland. And here's the table setting in Edith Wharton's dining room. And I also tried to make a dish that was served in each historic dining room with the intention of including it as part of the birthday dinner. And then I wrote a book titled The Dining Room. And so that's where we are today. I'm going to take you on a 45-minute whirlwind tour of the history of the dining room. And if you wish, you can order this book online at your favorite or buy it at your favorite bookstore by Googling the dining room and then my name, John Ota. And you can go to the Penguin Random House site, you can go to Amazon, or you can go to your favorite independent bookstore and ask for this book. The architecture of the dining room has changed over time along with the values of the broader society. In France, the concept of a specific room set aside for dining had its beginnings in the mid 1600s with King Louis XIV. Louis's dining room was an innovation to the architecture of the house that acted as a showcase for the owner's wealth and power, a place to show off their expensive eating habits, serving multiple platters of food, using dozens of plates, and having multiple staff to serve the guests. The dining room came late to North American houses. In North America, settlers were just too busy surviving, never mind making a separate room in their house just for eating. So settlers in the New World built themselves one-room houses to secure shelter. The decor was basic, and residents ate all over the house, in the hall, in the parlor, and in the sleeping area. But eventually, the elite saved enough money to build dining rooms. In the early 1800s, the dining room was all about showing off your wealth. And that's very evident here in the dining room at a place called Campbell House, 1822 here in Toronto. It's very typical of houses from the 1820s. I'm sure that there are houses like this in Chicago. These dining rooms were decorated with high quality woods like mahogany, cherry, and oak to exhibit the owner's wealth, taste, and education. Dining rooms became the most stylish rooms in the house. In the Campbell House dining room, it was designed with these two servant doors so that servants could deliver food from the basement kitchen up the stairs with little disruption and bring them into this dining room very quietly. The role of the servants in the dining room was to be invisible, like magic. They appeared with platters of roast pork, ham, or mutton. Separating eating in a dining room from cooking in a kitchen was a significant step in establishing the gentility and social status of a household. The unsightly clutter of the kitchen could be hidden away from view of the guests. The gleaming dining room gave the impression of cleanliness, status, and sophisticated taste. In the 1820s, people dined something called service a la Francaise. So, service in the French style, meaning all the food was out on the table and people helped themselves, similar to the way that we eat at a Chinese restaurant today. So, this is a floor plan, not a floor plan, but a table plan of what service a la Francaise would have been like. They would have had the meat dishes in the center and at the ends, and then they fill in the spaces with vegetable dishes. And then, so the table might look like something like this. The idea was the doors to the dining room would be closed. The butler would come, fling open the doors, and the guests would be overwhelmed with the display of food. So, service à la française comes up a little later in this talk. The next dining room we're going to is in the Nomura Samurai House in Kanazawa, Japan, 1860. So this is samurai dining room. And when I arrived in Japan, I fell in love with the austere aesthetic of the traditional Japanese house. Wood post and beam construction, open rooms with flexible uses, and clean, unadorned interior of tatami mats and shoji screens. The main dining room is the tatami room that overlooks a magnificent garden of windswept pines, stone walkways, and colorful koi fish swirling in the ponds. It has a strong connection to nature. It has this view out to the garden. And my excellent tour guide, Jun Hayashi, served me a classic Japanese meal, kneeling on the floor and eating off Japanese trays. And thanks to Jun, I came to learn that there are many nuances and little known dining room etiquette traditions about the Japanese dining room that few are aware of when we're visiting Japan, such as all North Americans. So one of those things is bowing. I learned that a bow is not just a bow, but a serious communication and reflection of respect, status, and relationship. I'll bow to you. And why do Japanese eat on the floor? The answer really is nowhere to be found. But in my opinion, and I talked to a lot of people, talked to many, many people, university professors, but and nobody has one answer. Japanese, in my opinion, Japanese are uniquely devoted to their past history and their culture. This is a scene in a tatami room in the 18th century. So, they're very devoted to their culture. The Japanese were cut off from the outside world for over 250 years, from 1639 to 1853 during the Tokugawa period. That was a long time. And if you dared to leave the country, you could be executed. It was a time when they developed many of their own cultural arts and traditions, and that dedication to their culture continues to the present day. They did not see a Western style table and chairs until the end of the 19th century. So, although dining habits are trending towards Western table and chairs, many people in Japan continue to enjoy kneeling on the floor while they're dining. So, we're going to spent about a minute and a half in the Nomura Samurai House. There's the tatami room. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move us along here because I'm your tour guide today. We're going to go to Giverny, France, and the dining room of artist Claude Monet in Giverny, France, 1905. So I love the Impressionist painters. And number one on my life bucket list was to visit the garden and the dining room of artist Claude Monet. So Monet's garden is unspeakably magnificent. It's a display of colorful flowers, vines, shrubs, ponds, and rivers. But when I enter Monet's house, this is a charming, long and narrow, pink and green two-story structure. We go in the front door, which is right in the middle of the facade, and step into his sun-filled dining room. I'm engulfed in a glorious space with walls awash in a glowing yellow. I feel like I'm being bathed in morning light. On top of it all are the vast collection of 18th and 19th century Japanese block prints that line the walls of the dining room, which were great sources of inspiration for Monet and the Impressionists. I look around to find that the vibrant yellow does not stop on the walls, but continues to the ceiling beams, the armoires, the wood trim, and the chairs. For Monet and the other Impressionists, yellow was more than just a pretty color. It was a connection to nature, light, and the sun. Yellow was a color that meant a lot to Monet. Throughout his life, he was fascinated with shifts in light and color. Although he was a private, moody man, Monet nevertheless enjoyed entertaining and he loved to eat. He'd be right at home with us, the culinary historians of Chicago tonight. At lunch, Monet welcomed artists such as Renoir, Rodin, Cezanne, Degas, and Van Gogh into his dining room. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be sitting at the dining room with them? Oh my goodness. He served pot au feu, roast chicken, duck, pigeon, pike, salads, tomatoes, eggplants that he grew, artichokes, onions, pears, and his beloved apples. He loved apples. So, tarte tatin was one of Monet's favorite desserts. He liked it so much he did a painting of it. Here it is. So, to fully understand his love of food and his brilliant yellow dining room, I took a cooking class in Paris and made a Monet-inspired tarte tatin with a Ferrandi pastry chef. There we are. It was amazing. It turned out perfectly. It's an upside down apple cake. It just dropped out when we did the flip. It was beautiful. So no, here's the tarte tatin with a little bit of creme fraiche on top, and look at that. No wonder he loved it so much. And we're going to spend about a minute and a half in Claude Monet's garden and his
The last time I was
house.
here was summer, and it was totally different. Now here we are in spring, and there are tulips like exploding everywhere. Like there's color everywhere. It's an artist's paradise.
The main goal of this place was not to organize barbecue and garden parties, you know.
Sure.
Just to paint it.
Yeah.
To depict every part of the garden. And just to create a beautiful and a very harmonious composition. He composed small part of the garden just to paint it, to catch, you know, a composition. You know, like an artist is doing sketches before doing painting, you know. He composed every part of the garden before painting it.
Okay, well, where should we head to next?
Or if you want, we can just visit the house.
Yeah, let's do
For a
it.
few minutes. So this yellow room was the dining room. You know, it's pretty modern as concept to eat with your family in the kitchen.
His passion for Japanese prints, obviously Japanese garden, but you know, it's just amazing. They're covered like all over the wall. It's incredible.
Yes, he had a huge collection. And Claude Monet just bought year after year different prints that he discovered during the Universal Fair, you know, organized in Paris. They had the possibility to buy a series, 20 Japanese prints for the rate of a lunch at the restaurant. Famous wave by Yokusai. Monet had a copy.
Well, I know like what Van Gogh loved Japanese prints as well, which you can see why. They're super colorful and they love color, so yeah. And I love the photo of him just standing there,
you can
get a feel.
see him.
Looks just like it.
Always smoking a
Yeah,
cigarette,
yeah.
you know. Love to drink wine.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, we're in France. That's what you have to do. So.
armoire. Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. All right, we're going to move along now. We're going to go to England. We're going to go to the dining room at Downton Abbey. As soon as I find the clicker here.
The last
Oh,
time
there we are. Isn't that great? So, for years, I've been obsessed with the dining room on Downton Abbey, the television series and the movie. So when I had a chance to visit England, I had to go. So when I step out of the bus, I've just stepped out of the bus, I'm immediately besotted by the enormous monumental castle soaring to the sky on this open landscape of hills, valleys, and cedar trees. Downton Abbey, in reality, is a place called Highclere Castle in Hampshire, England, about an hour east of London. It was built in 1860s. And so, as I step into the dining room, I notice right away that the grand and spacious room appears exactly the same as in the television show. I'm glad to know it's not just some kind of fake TV set, but a real dining room where the owners, the Earl and Countess of Carnarvon, have their meals with friends and family. So the most important function of the Edwardian dining room was to impress. And the Edwardian period is from 1901 to World War One. The 30 by 40-foot dining room walls are covered in portraits of illustrious ancestors of the owners, including an enormous painting of King Charles I on horseback. You can see that at the head of the table. The Earl's family are descendants of royalty. So this painting at the head of the table is not a not so subtle message that you're dining with some immensely important people. A surprising feature of the room is the backdrop of this elegant wallpaper of rich yellow and gold fabric in an intricate floral pattern that catches the candlelight and reflects gold flecks and shimmers and dances and gives a warm feeling to the dining room. It's got this gold patterned floral flocked kind of wallpaper on it. You never see that on the show. The most impressive feature of the room is the 1870 dining table at the center of the room. For Edwardians, the dining table was the spiritual center of the house. People would all gather here every day, what didn't matter what they were doing during the day, everybody would come to the dining table and have dinner together. The presentation of the table was a statement of elegance and good taste. But I realized if I was living here in 1912, I'm not sure I would have enjoyed dinner very much. The purpose of the gilded portraits, the extensive cutlery, the secret manners was to put me in my place and keep undesirables like me outside of their social circle. Only the elite knew the proper manners to use in the dining room. So I'm a member of the Culinary Historians of Canada. I returned to Canada and joined my fellow members in the Culinary Historians of Canada in the basement kitchen at Campbell House to make traditional mince meat tarts and pies. So here's one of I did not bake this one. The expert, Maya Sangster, baked this beautiful pie. I feel like it should be in an art gallery. It's so gorgeous. And so we made these mince pies and these tarts with real beef suet and beef tongue in them that would have appeared on the table of Downton Abbey at around Christmas time. So here's more of these tarts, and we sprinkled this crystallized sugar on top, so it would also catch the candlelight and sparkle. So as we know, mincemeat tarts are called mincemeat because historically they used to have the suet and tongue in them. At Downton, dinner is served service à la Russe. So, or service in the Russian style. In the 19th century, people got tired of the French style where everything was out on the table. So, service in the Russian style served multiple courses to all the guests, which allowed the hosts to show off their wealth even more because it required more dishes, more flatware, more servers. So in this video that I'm going to show, it's a 1-minute video. Watch as the footmen dip in and out between the guests like gracious swans on a pond. And then it's up to the guest to take the spoons and pick the portion that they want and use the spoons, take the portion off and put it on their plate. And yes, there are so many other rules to follow in their dining room.
How did you and Matthew meet?
Oh, in London. My father works in London, so I've always lived there.
But I love the country too.
Of course you do.
Daddy's a solicitor, like Matthew.
My. You're very well placed if you're ever in trouble with the law.
Did I tell you I've been given a colonelcy in the North Riding Volunteers? So I'm properly in the army again.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
He won't go with them, will he? When they're called to the front.
I hope not, but he seems to think so.
You don't mind my bringing Lavinia?
On the contrary, I'm glad. Glad to see you happy.
What about you? You happy?
I think I'm about to be happy. Does that count?
It does if you mean it.
You'll be the first to know.
Great. And now we're off to Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to go to back to the United States. Oh, there we are. So my chapter 7 is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the meaning of Southern food, Atlanta, Georgia, 1936. So in my humble opinion, Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most important people to ever walk this earth. And here are some excerpts from the I Have a Dream speech that he gave in a rousing and passionate voice from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington in 1963.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Thank God Almighty, we'll see it. Even though
But when I arrive at the childhood home of Martin Luther King Jr. in Atlanta, I find out that the young Martin was a mischievous little boy. Amazingly, he was very good at playing the board game Monopoly. Look at that. Isn't he a handsome young man? And I step into the King family dining room, a 12-foot by 18-foot room. It was the focus for the family dinners with the extended family, and it's filled with sunlight from 2 tall windows with dark wood window frames. It has the table set with the family's original dishes, cutlery, and water glasses. The dining room was the site of many of the family discussions about the existence of a racial problem in the South. For the first time at age 6, white parents forbade King from coming over to their houses to play with their children, used to be his friends. It was his initial experience with racial prejudice. In his autobiography, he writes, "We were at the dinner table when the situation was discussed, and here for the first time, I was made aware of the existence of a race problem. I had never been conscious of it before." He writes, "My mother confronted the age-old problem of the Negro parent in America. How to explain discrimination and segregation to a small child. She made it clear that I must never allow it to make me feel inferior. Then she said the words that almost every Negro hears before he can yet understand the injustice that makes them necessary. You are as good as anyone." It was these humiliating experiences of prejudice during these early childhood days that fueled Martin Luther King Jr. to his crusade for equality. Growing up, Sunday dinners in his dining room consisted of Southern foods such as fried chicken, collard greens, black-eyed peas, and cornbread. Later, he would meet with civil rights leaders in Atlanta, and they would eat these same Southern foods together. So to help understand the experience of dining with King and his family in their dining room, I took a cooking class down the street from his house and made dishes popular with his family. So here's my plate that I helped make these things. Fried chicken, what's that? Black-eyed peas to the right. There's collard greens, candied sweet potatoes. Top left is mac and cheese and cornbread. I loved it. It was fantastic. So there I am eating it. It's great. And the person behind me there, she's thinking, how can this little guy eat so much chicken? But it was great. It was great. We double dredged it. I think that's uh, very important. I had to double dredge it. We're now off to Mexico City, and we're going to see the dining room of Frida Kahlo, the artist Frida Kahlo. Her dishes, her parties, and her love of Mexico in the Casa Azul, Mexico City, 1939. So, Frida Kahlo is known for her art. There's her painting, The Two Fridas, her clothing, her lovers, and her partying. Here we go.
Y ahora sí, maldita bruja, ya te chupaste a mi hijo, ya te chupaste a mi hijo, y ahora sí, maldita bruja, y ahora le vas a chupar, y a tu marido el ombligo, y a tu marido el ombligo, y ahora le vas a chupar. Ancora tequila!
Rivera! Ehi! Sì, tu. Sai che cosa penso di te e dei tuoi murales di merda? Perché non ti levi dai coglioni, eh? Questo è un posto per operai, non per puttane del governo.
Tequila! Okay, here we go. But at the base of it all was her love of Mexico. Frida Kahlo was a Mexican nationalist. That's the most important thing to her. When it was not fashionable, and she used her food and her dining room to influence politicians and important people from around the world to promote Mexico. Kahlo's house is the Casa Azul, or the Blue House, in a suburb of Mexico City called Coyoacan. And I enter the dining room. It's an astounding 14 by 20-foot sunlit room. The bright walls and blue trim make me feel like I'm standing inside a Frida painting. The brilliant yellow floor radiates a warm and heavenly glow through the dining room. But my favorite feature of Kahlo's dining room are the bright yellow painted wood shelves displaying Frida's collection of colored glassware, earthware, pots, plates, and indigenous artifacts. They're indicative of her pride and promotion of Mexican artistic and cultural heritage. It's hard to believe, but in the early 20th century, the people of Mexico turned to Europe, particularly France, for their culture, for their art, architecture, and music. They did not feel that their native Mexican culture was worthy. Frida wanted to change all of that. So Frida was deeply influenced by indigenous Mexican culture. And you can see it here in her use of artifacts throughout the dining room. And people love coming to this dining room. On any given night, Kahlo and husband Diego Rivera might be serving dinner to Nelson Rockefeller, Orson Welles, Gary Cooper, Marc Chagall, Georgia O'Keeffe, Picasso, and Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky. Well, the mariachi played through the night, and they would drink tequila through the night too. The dining room was the heart of Frida and her husband Diego's intense social and cultural life. They earned a reputation for their raucous parties. Frida looked at food as a means of being more Mexican. She wanted everyone to come to her dining room and experience the best of Mexico. So to fully appreciate Kahlo's dining room, I took a Frida Kahlo inspired cooking class in Mexico City. Oh, there we are. We're making a mole with this beautiful clay pot. And I made her black bean soup, her cactus salad, her stuffed corn tortillas, and moles. The recipes are in the dining room book. We're going to spend about almost 2 minutes in the Casa Azul.
Frida Kahlo's home, which is called the Casa Azul because it's bright, bright blue walls on the outside, it was built by Frida Kahlo's father in Coyoacán, a district in the southern part of Mexico City. Frida was born there, and she lived there most of her life. When I was doing the research in the mid-70s, I spent a lot of time there, and I really did feel her presence because all of her objects are there, and people are sort of present in the things that they choose to have around them during their life. She spent a lot of time in bed in her house. When people went on trips, she always wanted them to bring her some little thing. She loved objects, and I think they were a kind of connection with the outside world for her when she was more isolated. The house is decorated with mostly folk artifacts, a reflection of her sympathy for the people of Mexico, the poor of Mexico, the Indians, and that was such a powerful matter of pride for Frida Kahlo to be very Mexican. Mexicanidad was a very strong emotion, even a political feeling in all the artists in Mexico during the 20s and 30s and 40s. Casa Azul is the essence of Mexicanidad.
All right, that's great. It was wonderful to be there. We're going to move on. We're going to go to Jackie Kennedy. Let's see if I can move this along here. Oh, there we go. Jackie Kennedy and her White House dinner for French Minister of Culture Andre Malraux in 1962. So, when President John F. Kennedy entered the White House in 1961, his wife, Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy, burst onto the scene and changed home entertaining like never before. Here she is coming to Canada, the first stop after his inauguration. Look at how well she's dressed. She's dressed so perfectly. It's instead of the usual 5 to 6 courses of heavy classic American fare for state dinners, Mrs. Kennedy streamlined meals down to 4 courses from a French menu with enough time for post-dinner entertainment and conversation. And no other White House dinner epitomized the entertaining style of Mrs. Kennedy more than one evening honoring the French Minister of Culture, Andre Malraux, May 11th, 1962. The Kennedys admired Malraux as a novelist, an art historian, and World War II resistance leader. And the Malraux dinner really starts a year earlier when Mrs. Kennedy accompanied the president to Paris and was hosted by Malraux as he escorted her around the Paris art galleries. Now, this is very funny. Like Mrs. Kennedy completely took Paris by storm. They loved her in Paris. She spoke impeccable French. She had so much style. And look at this photo on the cover of a magazine. She's walking in front of the president, and he looks as though he's just as happy to have her walking in front of her. When she was there, they were shouting, Jackie, Jackie. So we're going to, this is a tricky video to get started. So we're going to, here we go. And I hope it comes up. So it's not, oh, here we go. Is it going to happen? Oh, So during that tour of art galleries with Malraux, Mrs. Kennedy asked Malraux if France would lend the United States the Mona Lisa. So she planted it there during that tour, and they invited Malraux back to Washington for a state dinner. After many refusals, he finally accepted. No, no. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, here we are. So once he accepted, Mrs. Kennedy put her interior design skills to work in the White House dining room, improving the lighting, painting the walls, modern shades of white, and bringing in lighter gold faux bamboo chairs. Most of all, Mrs. Kennedy got rid of the awkward, heavy horseshoe table. The table that they would have usually was a round horseshoe table, and replaced it with small round tables that seated 8 or 10 people to encourage conversation between guests. As the date for the Malraux arrival drew near, Mrs. Kennedy set up a special tour for him of the National Museum of Art in Washington for the morning of May 11th, 1962. While they were admiring the artwork, Mrs. Kennedy again mentioned her idea of bringing the Mona Lisa painting to the United States. I think this is I think this is such a hilarious painting because she's probably just, asked him again for the Mona Lisa, and he's thinking, look at him. Oh my goodness. Mrs. Kennedy's asked for the Mona Lisa again. If anything happens to the Mona Lisa, my name is mud in France. I'm in big trouble. See, he's thinking it over. He's thinking it over. In the weeks leading up to the dinner, Mrs. Kennedy also spent considerable time on selecting her dress. She had her own approach to international diplomacy, right down to her gown, her Christian Dior gown. So she's got this very daring pink gown. Her hair is up. She has a shoulderless gown. She's gone all out for this dinner. And here are some slides of the dinner. Here's the president giving a speech in honor of Malraux. The table setting with the gold chairs. It's very funny. Every table setting had their own package of cigarettes and their own ashtray. Isn't that amazing? Oh, here's the menu. So the menu has things like, it starts with consomme. Then the next course is a lobster salad. The main course is this bar farci palignac. It's a stuffed sea bass with spinach. Then there's pheasant, a pheasant kind of pate. And then for dessert is croquembouche. So I made the stuffed sea bass with spinach and mushrooms and asparagus and potatoes exactly out of Chef Verdun's cookbook. It was delicious. It has this reduced white wine sauce with leeks in it. The only problem is I was using like 8 and 9 frying pans. It was like I'm just a basic cook. Oh my goodness, it gets very complicated. And I did not make this. This is just a slide of croquembouche, which was the dessert. And here's a slide of the after dinner entertainment, a string quartet. You can see Mrs. Kennedy sitting next to Malraux. And then this is a famous photo because people say in this photo, look at how close she is to Malraux. She has her bare shoulder right in his armpit. And what he's saying here is, I'll see what I can do. So after that, she breaks into a big smile. And my goodness, what can he say? She has wined and dined him, had a French chef. Of course, he's going to say, I'll see what I can do. And what happens is the Mona Lisa does come to the United States among a big occasion. If you look closely, there are 2 Marines with rifles and color guard uniforms guarding the Mona Lisa. Nobody's going to mess with Mona on this trip. Mrs. Kennedy brought culture, fashion, and the Mona Lisa to America. But she did more than that. In my research, I found that when President Kennedy's talks with world leaders bogged down, it was Mrs. Kennedy's dining table skills, from French General Charles de Gaulle to here we are, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev, that charmed them and got things on track again. So, and the last chapter here is on Garth Norbroughton and Greg Lichty's contemporary dining room in Toronto. So, our friends Garth and Greg live in this beautiful contemporary house in Toronto, my favorite house in the room, measuring about 30 feet by 40 feet. I look around the space, it's been transformed into the main floor of this combined dining room, kitchen, and living room. It's a perfect example of a 21st century great room where they have dining, entertaining, cooking, and partying takes place all in one room. And these walls are wrapped in a vivid chartreuse, as you can see in the photo. Further color accents are provided by carpets and cushions and hints of turquoise, mint, and forest green. But for me, the big architectural statement in this house is that the dining area is the first room that guests step into. Garth and Greg's arrangement to immediately enter the dining area is consistent with many new house designs across North America, where with their open concept plans, the dining room has become the showpiece of the ground floor. We're in the middle of a return to the dining room, or in some houses to a larger dining area. The shift from separate dining rooms to open concept kitchen dining areas is a result of a desire for a more casual, relaxed lifestyle and a shift towards flowing, flexible, multi-use spaces. But what is great about our contemporary period is that the traditional rules of the house can be kept or changed. So this is a dining room of interior designer Colette Vanden Tier that serves as her elegant dining room, but also as a library and occasionally as a design studio. I love the colorful blooms and the vines. Look at that on the wallpaper, those chunky bookshelves. Look at that. They're also covered in wallpaper. And the variety of chairs around the table. It's very loose, it's very informal. And that's the theme of the dining room these days. Not everything has to match. So whether a house is designed to be open concept or it has a dedicated dining room, the place where we dine is no longer just for eating. It's a multifunctional space, a library, a workspace, a home office space. And there's an priority of informality. Unlike the strict rules of etiquette in Downton Abbey, homeowners want their guests to feel relaxed when they arrive for dinner. So to honor Garth's home province of Saskatchewan, I made a Saskatchewan bison burgers, a Saskatchewan potato salad, and a Saskatoon berry crisp. Saskatoon berries grow in Saskatchewan. I don't know if they grow in Chicago, but they're little, tiny little blueberries that are packed full of flavor. And here's Greg spooning out the Saskatoon berry crisp. For Garth and Greg, that's my spouse Frances there. For Garth and Greg, the architectural message of the 21st century dining area says, we are active, we are informal, and we like to eat. So here's the reveal. As I said, I redid our dining room. I was really influenced by this gold wallpaper at Downton Abbey. Also in the Samurai House, they have these gold screens, gold leaf screens that catch the candlelight. And here's a 30-second video of my dining room.
My name is John Ota, and welcome to my dining room. During my travels, I found that one of the most significant influences in dining room design is light and color. In Japanese culture, gold screens are used in cultural and ceremonial functions to reflect the candlelight and bring the room to life. A Japanese gold leaf screen was way too expensive for me to buy, so I had to make one myself. I bought an inexpensive screen, had it upholstered in everyday gold dress fabric, and here it is. I love how it catches the candlelight and makes the room shimmer. I hope you love your dining room. Happy dining. Thanks very much for being here. Thank you.
So this is it at night. You can see the way the candlelight catches is caught in this gold screen. It's a work in progress. I would like to make this a little bit less formal, a little bit more relaxed, but it'll be fun as time goes along. And I did it. I threw a birthday dinner for a friend with food from the many places I visited, and I shared it with friends and family in this rejuvenated dining room. So just summing up, did I ever find the perfect dining room? Well, that depends on your perspective. You know, Martin Luther King Jr.'s dining room was perfect for his family, but it would not have been the space for Claude Monet or for Frida Kahlo. The main point of the book is that the dining area continues to be the central place in the floor plan of the house and the focal point of gathering and celebration in our lives. With the egalitarian values of the 21st century, we've landed into a new architectural form where the dining room is integrated into an open concept kitchen and living area. Some say the dining room is dead. Wait, I got to take the knife out of my heart. Oh, oh, oh my goodness. I would say the dining room has been redesigned. It has evolved and it's better than ever. But what I learned along the way on this search was that it's not about the perfect dish or sitting in the perfect chair. As Franny said, it's about gathering. I love being together with our friends and enjoying each other's company. It's really about who's around the table. So to end off, here are some dining room scenes from the film The Taste of Things. It takes place at the end of the 19th century in the French countryside, and it's similar to the cuisine and dining practices as Claude Monet. So it's about 2 minutes.
Two more minutes.
Oh, finally, here's Fran wearing her birthday tiara with our 17-year-old neighbor Ella on her significant 17th birthday. Dinner brings us together. Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you to Scott and Catherine, and thank you to you. Happy dining to you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We're going to, in a minute, open up the program to chat questions from our audience. Kathy will read them to you. I have my own question, and I'm just wondering, I'll just come right out and say it. I detest open, where the kitchen is open into the dining room. So if you're cooking, everybody can see everything you're doing with the pots and the pans. And it seems that 99% of households today have this open concept. In condos, everybody's ripping out the kitchen wall, so the dining room is right in the living room. But anyway, this is how I feel. I feel like a big, big minority. What do you think of this open concept where the kitchen is right in the living room and you're cooking in front of everybody?
Thank you, Scott. This is such a passionate uh discussion that happens a lot. People what don't like this or don't like that. This really gets to it because especially the last month or so with Easter and Passover. I mean, really, those celebrations and those traditions take place in the dining room. So I think on the one hand, I would agree with you, Scott, but um I love your position that you detest it. I love that. That's great. On the one hand, people there just seems to be an emphasis these days on informality, and people want to be informal and give up rules. And so I agree that when you come to somebody's house, it's a great thing to be. Homeowners want people to be relaxed when they come over. They want them to have a nice time. So the whole floor plan, architectural floor plan of the house is designed around this informal lifestyle. And even the dining room furniture, like sometimes you'll see a bench as part of the sort of dining room suite, and that's for kids so that they can get up and run around and not have to sit there and be stuck in this dinner for all evening. But I agree with you that the problem is that you don't have those long discussions around the dining table that I had during my life, where people sit there all evening and have these great discussions, and you laugh and you get to know each other, and you hear about what other people are thinking, and you laugh some more, and you pass around the cognac around the table, and you're there into the wee hours of the morning. So I think that that's a real drawback because the way that the open concept is designed is that so you can get up and move around, and then you can, as you said, you can see the dirty dishes there in the sink. People feel compelled that they have to get up and do the dirty dishes, or they can do something else, or they can move around. So those discussions don't happen. And what's really a great thing about a stand-alone dining room is intimacy. It's intimacy. So just like in the Downton Abbey dining room, there's this glow of light that everyone's cocooned around the dining room table, which is very conducive to conversation and getting to know each other and intimacy. I think that what the open concept um, dining area lacks is intimacy. So we've given up intimacy and we've taken in informality. So I agree with you. I agree with you, Scott.
But I guess
Those are my comments.
I guess we're a big minority because it seems
No,
not.
I don't think so.
No,
I would not say so. No, boy, I did a radio program up here in Canada uh during that Easter weekend, and it coincided with Passover. Oh my goodness. They got so many comments to the radio, national radio station from across the country about uh whether they liked separate dining rooms or open concept dining room. People were very passionate. And it really hit a nerve that weekend because so much was happening in the dining room that weekend. I mean, the dining room becomes the focus for these kinds of occasions. No, I don't think you're in a minority.
And the open concept idea is starting to fade away, is what I've been reading. And the trend is separate rooms for dining rooms. They might be multi-purpose,
Yes.
but
And I think, they've actually always been multi-purpose in the 19th century. I mean, houses were designed with the dining room as the biggest room in the house, just like Martin Luther King Jr.'s house. It's the biggest room in the house. It's the center room of the house. So people did other things in the dining room in the 19th century. There'd be storage, or sometimes they'd have a piano in there. I mean, they used that room for other things. Yes, as we do now. It's now become if it's trending towards a separate room, it is because we're using it as a home office or a place to do homework or as a library or a design studio.
I have a friend who likes to see a dining room table set for dining, but she doesn't use it that often. But she keeps her table permanently set as if somebody was arriving. And when she does have guests and wants to use it, she washes the dishes and puts them right back. Because she said if you don't do this, it becomes the table where clutter kind of arrives to, or becomes where you drop your keys. I thought that was pretty clever. Okay, I'll start reading some of the comments. Scott, you have another question? Okay. These, excuse me?
Nothing. Oh, I love this kind of discussion. I love it. This is what I live for.
Okay, so these people handled, you know what, Cynthia Clampett, do you mind reading these statements? Because I have a blurry vision at the moment. In another week, it will be gone.
Where are you starting?
Just start where they're Flick, Mr. Flick, Jeffrey Flick.
Okay, joining from extreme northwest Iowa this evening.
Hello.
No, we don't need to know that.
I'm just trying to.
Jeffrey, no, just read the comments.
Here we go. These
Okay.
people handled renown and wealth so adroitly, it has me longing for social leaders with humility and grace. Indeed.
Then the next comment.
Yes.
But I actually made the comment. It was because you seemed surprised at the cigarettes and the ashtrays, and it was back then everyone offered cigarettes and had ashtrays, even airplanes. When your dinner tray arrived, it had a small packet of cigarettes.
Oh,
and the ashtrays were built into the arms of the plane's seats. So that was not that peculiar that they had them at that dinner party. In fact, I still have all the beautiful handmade crystal ashtrays that my mom used to put on dining room tables when she had company because everybody smoked.
Yes.
And remember the faux pas of telling somebody, "May I smoke?" and you say no? You stop the room cold. They're like, "What?"
And then here's one comment that says the Flintstones were in a cigarette commercial. So yes.
I remember that one.
And this is just the numbers given rather than name, but it says, what a wonderful selection of people, rooms, and dishes.
Very nice. Thank you.
Very cool. This is from Lois Levine. Very cool, different, fabulous presentation. Kind of miss those days of dress up and dining in parties. Absolutely agree with that.
Yes.
And then 882017 again adds Saskatchewan berries are known as service berries here.
Right. That's right. Let me write that down. Yeah.
That's
and Jeffrey Flick again offers The Taste of Things, as it's a wonderful film. So I suspect it's something else involving the dining room. And Elisa says, fascinating. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And that's echoed by Steve DeRosa. This was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
there's more.
The dining room here at the abode was the board game room in the late 1970s.
All right.
There is a scene in the episode of Get Smart where a shuffleboard on an airplane keeps switching the smoking no soaking sign on and passengers acting thusly. That's interesting, though. You talk about the dining room being the board game room. I have seen many, many old houses where if you flip over the dining room table, it has inlaid, backgammon or chessboard or something like that. So that's actually a pretty time-honored thing.
That's very smart.
And a good use of a room.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Well, particularly in the day when you didn't necessarily you didn't have central heat and you didn't necessarily want to have to go out for firewood every 2 hours. Just warm up the one room.
Yeah.
By the way, your dining room for your design was quite elegant and really a good idea with the gold dress fabric.
Yeah, that was very
Oh,
clever.
thank you. Yeah. Well, you know, I tried to find something and went online. Oh my goodness, like a gold leaf screen is thousands and thousands of
Oh,
dollars. I
yeah.
could never do it. So I had to think of something because I wanted it. So
It worked.
yeah,
It worked
thank you.
very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to say the reflection of your last slide. Thank you for being here. Happy dining.
Happy
Oh,
dining.
John, before you go,
Yes.
any other books planned, or don't you want to reveal any secrets right now?
Oh, nothing right now, but I'll let you know when I come up with something. You know, really, I really like you guys so much, the culinary historians of Chicago.
Mutual. Mutual.
You know, really, I mean, and we're culinary historians. This is what we do, right? This is great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And anytime we can host you again, let us know. We'll put you right on the list to come up and speak again. So again,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Yes.
And I'm glad we didn't resolve about the open concept about dining room and kitchen and everything together. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. So you take care, and thank you again, John.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you,
Bye-bye.
Scott and
Thank
Kathy,
you.
for pulling this together.
Yes, really. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
You
Good
too.
night.